Well, thank you for that introduction and welcome to this summit. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to people who I think are as passionate about leadership and particularly inclusive leadership as I am. So I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes with you just talking to you about some of the key aspects of inclusive leadership and why, from my experience and also from the research, inclusive leadership matters. Inclusive leadership has an impact on people and communities and the organization. And even more today and in the future, the importance of developing people who understand the power and the importance of inclusive leadership is something that I think that we should all take joint responsibility for. And so I want to talk about three key things about inclusive leadership. But the first thing I want to be able to do is reinforce two key things about inclusive leadership. First, I need to define for you leadership. And there are a lot of definitions of leadership. We could actually fill this entire room over 10 times with the books and articles and notions about what leadership means. But my definition of leadership is very concise but powerful. Leaders build capacity. Leaders build capacity. They build capacity in people, in processes, in organizations. And what that means is that leadership, by definition, changes things. That as a function of leadership, particularly effective leadership, that an organization, a context, a situation, a process, whatever it is that you're given to be in charge of as a leader is different. And it's not just changed, it is changed for the better. Leaders build capacity. The second thing I want to make sure that I say to you before we talk about these three aspects of inclusive leadership is that leadership, and I've seen this more and more in the various leadership roles that I've had the privilege of serving, leadership is often not about what you think you're doing. It is really not about what you intend to do. Leadership is fundamentally about people's experience of you and with you. Because the criterion for the effectiveness of leadership is about the people being led. It is, ironically, outside of the leader. And so regardless of what you think you're doing, leadership is about the experience that people have of you as a leader, as you build capacity. So, inclusive leadership. Well, there are three things that I want you to think about when it comes to what it means to talk about inclusive leadership. Building capacity of diverse people and having an experience that also means that experience that people have of you includes all aspects of diversity, whether it's diversity that is demographic diversity, diversity of experience, background, thought, functional area. I want you to think about three key things, and some of these are borne out in the research that shows the elements of effective leadership that drive organizational effectiveness. And one of them is about this notion of sense-making. So inclusive leadership is about sense-making. It is about your capacity as a leader to help people make sense out of an organization, make sense out of what's going on in terms of the problem or the direction that you're trying to take them as a leader. But inclusive leadership is also about you as the leader helping people make sense out of the differences, out of the different backgrounds and experiences and perspectives that you have. And that sometimes it's also trying to stretch people to get them to understand things that are very different and sometimes conflict with the way they think, conflict with the way they were raised, conflict with their own experiences. It is the leader's responsibility to help people make sense out of all of it. And this doesn't always mean that you as a leader have to have the answer, but you as a leader have to help people on that journey to find the right answer, to find understanding and awareness and perspective that moves them past difference and toward whatever it is the common goal. And that's the leader's job, is to help people make sense out of all of that. That means always being a student. That means reading and discussing and getting knowledge from all different points of view, expanding your own horizons so that you can help other people make sense out of what they're facing as an inclusive leader. The second thing that we find is important in inclusive leadership is about building community. That part of what inclusive leadership means is the ability to bring people together. One of the things that is important about building community is that we know the power of cohesion. We know the power of connectedness in an organization, whether we call it engagement or whether or not we call it cohesion. It is the stick-togetherness of people, and that the community, the connection of people, is stronger than division. So as an inclusive leader, you ought to develop a sensitivity to when an organization or a team is having conflict, such that that conflict or division threatens your ability to build capacity, to move them forward. I have found in all of my leadership roles that I am able to accomplish so much because people are tied together, not because we all love each other and we're going to go after work and have a mani-pedi together. For the guys in the audience, mani-pedi, manicure, pedicure. But it's because we are bound together by common objectives to make this organization better, to make an impact on the campus, to make an impact on community, to make an impact on the world. And if you can get people bonded together, focused on a common goal, that is building community. The last thing is about stewardship. And stewardship means understanding as an inclusive leader that you hold whatever that thing is that you have, a team, an organization, a project, you hold that in trust. That you are entrusted with something with the understanding that you will make it better. That if you're building capacity, that thing that was given to you will be better because of you. So that means not leaving anybody out. That's what inclusive leadership means. I can't pick and choose. These are the people who I think really can be successful, and those other people think differently than me, and so I'm not going to spend as much time or as much investment. Everybody deserves a seat at the table. Everybody deserves your attention. Everybody deserves your investment. That is effective stewardship. And so I've given you those three key things. Now, let me give you a little bit of advice, particularly as students from whatever university you happen to be in. How do I put all this into practice as a student? Well, I think one key thing that I find is that role models are really very powerful. And I don't mean role models in the way of, oh, I just admire this person, but I've never met them and I don't know them. I'm talking about a relational role model, connecting with people who live inclusive leadership every day, who understand and who struggle to be better inclusive leaders, and forming relationships with them, talking with them, connecting with them, talking to them about the struggles that they had, the successes and the failures. Because honestly, I learn way more from the failures than sometimes I do from the successes. And so finding and connecting with others who can be role models of inclusive leadership, learning from them, staying connected to them. And then the last thing you can do is to challenge yourself. Inclusive leadership means that you and your networks and the people that you connect with have to be different from you. To not surround yourself with people who you just feel comfortable with. To surround yourself with people who will challenge you, who will challenge your thinking, who will expand your thinking. At Pitt Business, which is the unit in the undergraduate program that I have the privilege of leading, we have a mantra that we take our students from the classroom to the city to the world. That means moving beyond the boundaries to expand yourself as an inclusive leader. Thank you for spending time, and hail to Pitt.